Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the LWN Network. I am Tammy Nation, your host of Headline Hits every Monday through Thursday here on LWN Network. Thanks for joining me this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're located. We've got some good stories to cover that happened yesterday and the day before to make sure that you stay up to beat on what is going on in this world as these news stories hit. We know that the cycle is very quick. It's not even 24 hours anymore. Sometimes it can be a matter of 2 or 3 hours. So thanks for joining me again. Make sure that you hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And let's go ahead and get started with the headline hits this morning, Wednesday, March 25th, 2025. First up, we have Border Czar Homan delivers on promises to clean up Boston. 370 illegals arrested, including child sexual predators, the worst of the worst. Remember Tom Homan's warning the city of Boston that he's coming and bringing hell with me, he said, after the police commission refused to work with immigration and custom enforcement. Homan issued that warning during a fiery speech at the Conservative Political Action Conference, which is called CPAC. And Homan said at the time, the Police Commission of Boston, you said you doubled down on not helping the law enforcement office of ICE. It's coming to Boston. I'm coming and I'm bringing hell with me. Yesterday, Homan provided the update on his promise to clean up Boston, despite the Democratic Mayor Michelle Wu's efforts to place the interest of illegals over the citizens of her city. And it's more clear than ever, releasing men like Jose Fernando Perez, who's charged with several counts of raping a child. Disgusting and terrible. Homan shared an on X, I made a promise at CPAC that I was going to Boston after reading about numerous illegal alien child predators walking the streets of Boston and Massachusetts. ICE had to find and arrest these illegal aliens because Massachusetts and Boston are sanctuaries that refuse to cooperate with ICE. They would rather release these animals back into the community rather than honor ICE detainers or notify ICE when they are scheduled to be released. Mayor Wu later testified that I was lying. Well, guess what? I traveled to Boston last Tuesday, Tom said, as promised, and we kicked off a 5-day operation. ICE, FBI, ATF, DEA, U.S. Marshals, and DSS were involved. These incredible men and women arrested a total of 370 illegal aliens in Boston and surrounding areas, a majority of the 370 being significant criminals. These arrests included 6 foreign fugitives, including 4 who were wanted for murder or to serve criminal sentences for murder, along with drug traffickers, child sexual predators, and numerous other violent public safety threats. So listen to these numbers, you guys, 370 of them in Boston, in the Boston area alone. Governor Healy and Mayor Wu should be ashamed of supporting sanctuary policies, Tom said, releasing public safety threats back into the public rather than working with ICE at the jails, putting the public at great risk. President Trump's all of government's effort to arrest and remove the worst first is making our communities safer in every way. President Trump is a game changer, Tom said, who is keeping his promise to the American people. Much more to do, but it will be done. So I don't know about you guys, but I cannot believe that there are judges out there that are putting illegal aliens that are hurting and maiming our children and our cities ahead of our own safety. But that's what we're dealing with out there. Next up, this is one's going to burn your buns. It did mine. A federal judge in Colorado has sided with far-left activists over concerned parents forcing the Elizabeth School District to return 19 books, including those pushing graphic sexual content and radical ideologies, to school library shelves. Judge Charlotte Sweeney, appointed by Joe Biden, issued a preliminary injunction mandating the district immediately reinstate books such as The Bluest Eye, The Hate You Give, and George, Now Melissa, despite clear concerns from school board members and parents about their explicit, politically charged, and age-inappropriate content. I can't even believe this. This just infuriates me. According to CBS News, the Elizabeth School Board voted to remove certain books from school libraries, citing concerns over graphic violence, racism, discrimination, and depictions of self-harm or mental illness. and sexual content. This happened in August of 2024. But that wasn't good enough for the plaintiffs. A coalition of activist students, their parents, the NAACP, the Authors Guild, who cried censorship, ran to the federal court. Judge Sweeney, in her 45-page ruling, concluded that the school board's actions violated the First Amendment rights of students and authors alike, declaring that the books were removed because of the authors and the book's content and viewpoints on issues such as race, sexual orientation, gender identity, LGBTQ content rather than educational concerns. I can't believe this. Plaintiffs have shown that the district removed the 19 books based on authors and books content and viewpoints on issues such as race, sexual orientation, and on and on. Sweeney wrote, this was to promote the board's self-proclaimed conservative values. So the judge dismissed the board's argument that it was protecting students from inappropriate material. The judge said, other than pretextual declarations at this stage, there was simply no reason to believe that these books were removed because of vulgarity, age-appropriate inappropriateness, or for the legitimate pedagogical concerns. Sweeney added that parents want to remove the books for partisan reasons does not permit government officials to do the same. Even assuming, as this district suggests, that the majority of parents wish to remove certain books based on their conservative beliefs, the First Amendment offers sweeping protection for those authors and readers who may adhere to the minority view. Listen to this last statement from the judge. In fact, it's the minority view, including expressive behavior, that is deemed distasteful and highly offensive to the vast majority of people that most often needs protection under the First Amendment. Once again, these judges are pushing illegals, criminals, and everybody else over even our children. Next story up, we have a discovery that was made in Michigan. The Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, used altered voter rolls. Over 35,000 voter histories have reportedly been erased in a violation of Michigan law. And yep, we're still seeing the unveiling of corrupt voting systems, logs, documents, etc. Michigan data analyst expert Tim Veeder of DEEP, which is Data Evaluation of Election Processes, has been uncovering the unlawful manipulation of Michigan voter rolls since the 2020 election. He's been working 5 long, hard years on this. Vetter is a highly regarded data analyst and manufacturing equipment engineer. He has dedicated hundreds, if not thousands, of hours scouring Michigan voter rolls, looking for clues to help better understand why they are such a disaster. So Mr. Vetter has gone public to say he had discovered that Michigan's SOS Jocelyn Benson's BOE, which is Board of Elections, has failed to report over 35,000 voter history records from 2 separate special elections they held in 2024. In Michigan. So on the surface, he was saying everything about these special elections appears to be fairly innocuous. But Vetter, who has been analyzing Michigan voter rolls for years, decided to do a test run on the special elections results to see if the QVF, which is qualified voter file, held by the local clerks, matched the voter histories recorded by MIS SOS Benson's BOE. To conduct this test run, Mr. Vetter sent 10 sample voter IDs to his local clerk. When he received the sample pack, he attempted to determine if those 10 voters' issues vote histories in the source QVF matched up to the vote histories in Michigan's SOS December 2024 altered QVF. And I know it's a lot of information, you guys, but when you break down the detail of what's going on with elections that has been going on for a long time, it's important we pay attention to these details and this hard work that this man has been doing. And according to Vetter, the special election vote history records for all 10 sample IDs are missing from the altered data provided by Benson's BOE. According to Michigan law, the BOE cannot fraudulently make any entry, eraser, or alteration with voter history records. Additionally, voters must contain voting history for a 5-year period. So Vetter stated the altered voter rolls at the state level are nothing new. We have never reviewed an accurate list of voters in the vote history data from Benson's BOE, saying they could fix this today if they wanted. All they have to do is publish an accurate list of voters after county certification and look down their voter history records. And we talked about for many years now that the voter rolls need to be cleaned up. He's saying it's a simple thing for them to do. Tim Vetter questions why the BOE has yet to fix Michigan's altered QVF with bloated voter rolls and altered vote history records. He explained that bloated voter registrations open the door to cheating in our elections, and altered vote history records make auditing any elections nearly impossible. So once again, as they tweak these different parts of the voting system, whether it's machines or the papers or the voter rolls themselves, it makes it nearly impossible to audit them accurately. And that's what we're up against. Vetter's claim that the voter rolls are being altered at the state level is supported by a response to one of his Freedom of Information Act requests by the BOE's coordinator, who admits they are changing the vote histories of Michigan voters. So more to come on that, more details. We know that it's been a struggle for a long time, but I'm thankful that there are people out there still trying to correct and get this straightened out, and also educate us on what is going on individually for different states, through different counties, locally and nationally with our voting systems. Next up, we have Trump estimates $4 trillion worth of companies are moving back into the U.S. So this is a nice, good report this morning. President Donald J. Trump estimates that his administration has already identified maybe $4 trillion worth of companies moving back or going to move back to the United States. And this is thanks to the tariff policies. So when you hear people out there complaining about tariff policies or thinking it's disastrous, some people will be affected. Yes, we talked about that. We talked about how it's going to be troublesome to some, depending on what you do and these policies and how they're going to affect you. But all in large, it's going to end up being a good thing in the long run. Trump shared the figure during yesterday's cabinet meeting at the White House, and Trump stated this. First of all, many companies are now moving back into the United States. Some of them left us from many years ago, decades ago, and they are all, it seems, coming back. We have probably identified maybe $4 trillion worth of companies moving back are going to move back. Many of them have announced it's going to be tremendous jobs, high-paying jobs too. Trump noted that the semiconductor industry in particular and criticized the CHIPS and Sciences Act of 2022, which he said did not incentivize domestic microchip production as it provided large subsidies to companies already worth billions. He said, so basically, you gave billions of dollars to companies that already have many billions of dollars that just said, well, thank you very much. It was no incentive for them to use it, actually, Trump said of the CHIPS Act. But what is good is the tariffs will make it so that they want to come back. That's why they're coming back. Trump stressed that domestically produced goods do not face tariffs, which is an incentive for companies to manufacture right here in the United States. The president also touted automobile investment announcements in the United States with his return to office. Honda is coming in with a massive plant in Indiana, but there are many plants that are happening. And literally some have already started. General Motors is already redoing plants that were half abandoned, or they have plants that weren't being fully utilized. They and others are going to make parts and other things in those plants so that it is one-stop shopping, finally. Plans for the latest automotive investment in the U.S. were revealed on Monday when CNBC reported Hyundai, and a South Korean-based company, was set to announce a $20 billion investment in U.S. onshoring that includes a $5 billion steel plant in Louisiana. And also noteworthy, coming out in a statement, Rolls-Royce is currently drafting contingency plans to avoid the impact of trade restrictions imposed by the Trump administration. The plans are said to include ramping up production in America and hiring more workers in the United States. According to the report, the aerospace and defense company is considering shifting production from countries impacted by the trade war, including China, Canada, and Mexico, where it is currently and has around 6,000 workers. A source told the British broadsheet, if you are making something in countries like China, then you'll be looking at whether you can do it in the United States instead. Additionally, Rolls is also considering potentially shifting production from the UK and Europe should tariffs threaten its manufacturing sites in the regions. In a message to shareholders, the firm said that the trade restrictions could lead to increased cost and consequently realign the global supply chain. Trump's White House trade actions have already bore some fruit, with major firms such as Apple, Oracle, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company already announcing billions in investments in manufacturing projections in the United States. They have also been reporting that major car manufacturers, including Honda, Kia, and Audi, are also looking to move production to the U.S. to avoid the impact of tariffs. So to me, that all sounds like a win-win and a positive for people here in the United States of America, for our workers. And I don't know about you, but buying a car now is outrageous. And we went through the whole thing during COVID where they didn't even have parts. And they would be selling cars, whatever they had on the lot, that was it. You had upcharges, taking those cars off the lots, like $5,000 for a car, $10,000 for a truck, and up, pulling them off the lot. Never in my life have I ever seen anything like that before. And then, on their whole billing on the car that says all the stats and what the car's price is, what kind of features it has. A lot of the features were marked out because they couldn't get the chips that supplied the production of these features. So let's hope all that goes away. Let's hope everything comes back to America again, just like it should have been from the beginning. We got in a lot of trouble exporting everything out. And then we have next up, as far as the next story, is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth launches investigations into leaks of sensitive and classified information. Why are we not surprised about this going on? The Department of Defense over the weekend announced an investigation into leaks of sensitive and classified information following a series of unauthorized disclosures of classified information and other sensitive information to several legacy news media outlets. A memo signed by Pentagon Chief of Staff Joe Casper asked the Director of Defense Intelligence to lead the investigation, noting that polygraph tests would take place in accordance with applicable law and policy. The investigation will commence immediately and culminate in a report to the Secretary of Defense. The report is going to include a complete record of unauthorized disclosures within the Department of Defense and recommendations to improve such efforts. I expect to be informed immediately if this effort results in information identifying a party responsible for an unauthorized disclosure, and that such information will be referred to the appropriate criminal law enforcement entity for criminal prosecution, Casper said in the memo. The effort comes after the New York Times reported on Thursday that Elon Musk was due to visit the Pentagon on Friday to allegedly receive a briefing on U.S. military war plans and a potential conflict with China. Well, Musk did indeed visit the Pentagon on Friday, but Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and later President Trump himself denied that he would be giving such a briefing. The Times had reported and claimed the meeting would not be held in Hegseth's office, but in the tank, where top senior defense and military leaders hold the most sensitive and pressing discussions. The meeting indeed occurred, but it was in Hegseth's office, and his team released photos of the meeting in his office afterwards. Before that leak, NBC News and CNN had reported on a classified memo from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to top U.S. military and senior defense leaders, laying out the interim guidance in the department's top priorities around the world. So that is disgusting that somebody's leaking and doing this. We're in a very vulnerable position as we recover from the last administration. And I am glad they are on top of this. And the media needs to be held responsible. They need to be reliable, truthful, and honest and report, not making up stories that cause us to have security issues within the United States of America and our people and our government and our military and on, especially for the people that are working and fighting overseas and whatnot and serving the military. We need to keep them safe. So that's what I have for you guys today for this Wednesday, March 25th, 2025 for Headline Hits. I will be back tomorrow for another version, noon Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys can join me. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.